Today we're diving down the Tumblr rabbit hole because although we've already spoken a lot about the hidden dangers of social media, Tumblr probably has the most vast set of hidden tags that I have ever discovered. Before we begin, I just want to clarify that this video does cover some heavy topics. Thank you to the viewer who made me aware of this if you are watching. And just a note that there are many links in the description to report any of this stuff that you happen to come across on social media. Tumblr was launched in February 2007, and within the first 2 weeks it had already garnered almost 100,000 members. Its peak came in 2014 when the daily post made by users was nearly 100 million. But a lot of that content was more of the adult variety. NSFW content on Tumblr was very massive and it became very well known. So you can imagine just how disappointed people were when in 2018 they announced that all images and videos depicting adult material would be banned from the platform. This came after a lot of controversy involving the platform being used to host CSAM, and it was even removed from Apple's App Store for a period of time as a result of this, a move that essentially forced their hand into banning any sort of explicit material. And although they did try, predators managed to outsmart them. Over these last few weeks, we've spoken a lot about how predators operate. They use secret codes to stay under the radar, and it's only through spreading awareness and reporting this to the authorities that change can actually happen. So let me give you a rundown. On a lot of platforms, blatant tags that can be used for illegal means will be blocked. For example, if you tried to search for something that was blatantly against the law, your search would likely return something along the lines of, "This stuff is illegal," or another similar warning. And although you would think it would be obvious for the platform in question to block obvious variations of it, a lot failed to do so, and people can continue to post whatever they want under that slightly changed tag, simply hiding it by changing 1 or 2 letters. This is how predators get around bans on Twitter, and in last week's video we properly explored that. And as it turns out, adult content was never truly gone from Tumblr, because they used this exact method to get around the block. But before we dive in further, I wanted to explore just how Tumblr actually detect this illegal material and ban it from the platform. And luckily for us, during the investigation they had to submit written evidence to the UK government on how exactly they did this. Tumblr prides themselves on having a solid way for them to report material that shouldn't be on the platform, and they claim to completely encourage this through things like the Tumblr staff blog. They say that they use technical tools to flag certain types of content that breaks our rules, and this will tag it for a manual review. They use hashes of known CSAM that are provided by the NCMEC, and that's used to detect if it's being uploaded to the platform. This is a very good method that is used by a lot of social media platforms. They have a team of highly trained moderators alongside this, and it seems as though the problem back then was that predators were uploading CSAM that they were sourcing from other predators. But the problem that has persisted for years is not the uploading of known CSAM, but rather minors posting pictures of themselves, actively seeking out predators. And as it turns out, this actually has an official name. It's referred to in legal circles as SGCSAM, standing for Self-Generated CSAM. I'd say that right now, that is one of the biggest problems affecting young people on social media. Not only because a lot of them are part of it, because realistically this is a small portion of minors on the internet, but because it's so easy to access and so easy for minors to fall down this rabbit hole themselves. Something that actually hurts is the amount of people that come to me to share their stories. Not because I don't want to share them. I will share your story because your experience matters and I want you to know that. But it hurts because of just how many kids this is affecting. It seems as though it's becoming easier and easier for minors to be dragged into this disturbing side of the internet, simply because they're seeking validation or easy money, and there's always going to be predators that are waiting to take advantage of that. And it's disturbing that platforms continue to just ignore it as if nothing is happening, because something is happening. Tumblr is another one of those platforms that ignores it. And this is how deep it goes. During this next deep dive section, I want to clarify that I saw nothing illegal because I had an extension that blocks every image and video from every website. Everything has been reported, and I will include links in the description for you to report any material that you happen to come across. I do not encourage you to seek any of this out. That is not the goal of this video. This video is intended to raise awareness about the genuine dangers of social media. For the sake of this video staying on the platform, this next section has been carefully edited, and I'm sorry if you don't like some of the editing, but it has to be this way, otherwise this video would be at risk. Now, let's get into the deep dive. Before we get into the deep dive, I just want to kind of discuss something first. First of all, I want to thank any one of my viewers who has come to me with their stories or with information on these rabbit holes, because, you know, I want you to know that me and my community will always support you, especially when you need it most. And secondly, to people saying that, you know, exposing this and speaking about it and raising awareness is going to do nothing, I really don't think that's the case. These rabbit holes get reported. They do get reported to the authorities, not only by me, but by many people who I'm sure have found them before. And the problem is the authorities do nothing. And that's why really the only next logical step we can take is to raise awareness. Because if the authorities are going to do nothing, then what are we meant to do? You know, just sit back and watch it happen? I don't agree with doing that, and I'm sure that you don't either. So again, I'm using this very handy plugin called Block Image and Video, which removes every image and video from every website. There's another big rabbit hole on Tumblr of this stuff. So first of all, let me show you what happens when you try to search up content on Tumblr, adult content. So if we literally just search up the word, right? It says, hold your horses, these search results are likely to contain content which does not comply with Tumblr's user guidelines. To help keep everyone safe, we're not displaying any content here. That's all well and good. Fantastic. But like we've spoken about in the past with my Twitter rabbit hole video especially, they always find ways to get around this. And one popular way to get around it is by replacing letters with symbols or with numbers. So for example, I'm not sure if this is actually going to work, but if you replace the O with a 0, okay, they have actually figured that one out on this website, but that's basically the gist of how it happens. Say you want to, let me just type a random word here. So say someone was searching up, you know, predators, for example. They could, if this word was banned, they could, you know, replace that with that, that with that, and that with that, and that would likely get around it. So that's just an example of how this all works, basically. And that is how they've managed to get around this, because as you can see, the tag that we're looking at today, I actually don't know if I can show it in this video, but it uses the tactic of replacing the letters. And one disturbing thing that Tumblr does is when you search up a tag, it gives you other related tags. It's kind of like how TikTok does it. We spoke about that in TikTok, where you can basically keep going down the rabbit hole because TikTok will keep recommending you stuff. Here we go. We have so many, as you can see. But of course we also have the posts, and you can see here just how many people are being affected by this. So let's take a look at some profiles. For example, we'll go to this guy. This person says that their favorite number is, and that's a tactic that minors use to hide their real age so that their profiles don't get suspended. So instead of saying that they're, say, I'm going to say 18 years old, so I don't need to blur the age when I'm talking about this, but instead of saying that they're 18 years old, they could say they're level 18, or 18 in quotes, or that their favourite number is 18. And I'm really sorry about people who have a problem with me blurring the ages out in these videos, but it's the only way that this video can stay on YouTube. My video on Discord communities got taken down because of that, so I really have no choice but to do that, and I do apologise for that. And this person has some extremely disturbing tags, such as hashtag mapbait, hashtag maps please interact. They also call themselves a kiddo, which is something that is quite common in these predator spaces. Minors will refer to themselves as kiddos, and, you know, it's kind of feeding into that whole DDLG stuff. But again, the problem here is that this isn't fake DDLG stuff. This is actual predators taking advantage of minors. Okay, admittedly, I don't really know how Tumblr works, but let's take one of these posts, for example, and you can see that this one has 49 notes. If we click on that, 47 of those are likes, and yeah, we can see everyone who's liked it. And we'll take some of these people, for example. So we'll take this Daddy for Zoomers. And immediately on this guy's profile, he says that he's 42, and immediately he has his session ID. Session is an app like Telegram, which is basically secure, so these predators can exchange any sort of content that they want. And he also says that his DMs on Tumblr are open, but that he prefers session. And that's probably because he is speaking about things that would get him banned if the messages were to be reported. So this is another tag, it's hashtag map safe, basically saying that, you know, if you're a predator, then this place is safe for you. And this person here called Evil Puppy Dog has made an introduction post. So this person says that they are a guy and that they have blankets on their bed. This is kind of the most obscure that I've seen these things go on Twitter. They are kind of blatant with, you know, the age being hidden behind math sums or being hidden behind levels, but here they really go all out by saying things like, I have 18 blankets or I have 18 plushies. But again, we've also got this one, which is a math sum, and this is, you know, like I've mentioned, kind of one of the most common ones. But they have kind of stopped using this method because much bigger creators than myself have spoken about it, so it's kind of well known at this point that if someone sees that, they'll know that this person is likely not of legal age. Now, this is probably the most vast, you know, predator network I've seen on social medias. So obviously, you know, on Twitter there were lots of tags that I discussed in last week's video, but this one, there's like, take what we've found already on apps like Twitter and triple it. There's absolutely so many, just so many different variations. Like, look at this, for example. They've tagged it as map-a-bait, but, you know, they've got even 2 variations of that same tag with a 4 and also an @ symbol. And disturbingly, this is again another example of cross-platform collaboration because they've linked to Discord. This is posted by a person called Your Little Cutie who claims to be 18, but again, this is the one that posted the math sum. And we can see here the little extract from the Discord invite, and it says there's 220, at least 220 members in this server. And this post alone has 104 notes. So let's just take a look at some of the people who have liked this post. This is someone who I've seen pop up quite a bit. He's a 38-year-old male from Germany. He links his Snap, his Telegram, and his session. And we can see by what he's posting that he's very into, you know, the whole DDLG stuff. But the problem is, it's gone past any form of roleplay because he's clearly interacting with people who are actually minors. And again, this platform has the same problem that Twitter and TikTok and Discord does, where people can just make new accounts whenever they get banned. Fair enough, I don't really know how banning works on Tumblr. I don't know if an IP ban is a thing that they commonly do, but for something like this, it certainly should be. But we've got this person here saying that they might take a break because they don't want to keep making accounts, because this is their 15th account in the last 6 months. For this person to have gone through so many accounts, you know, constantly with the predator stuff, surely just give them a permanent device ban at that point. Looking through this person's profile, they're asked how many plushies they have and they say enough for their state, but even if they are over the legal age of consent in their state, it doesn't mean they can post, you know, explicit content of themselves online, because if they're under 18, that still counts as CSAM. But it's incredibly disturbing just how many interactions these are getting. We've got 179, 317, 169, 108. So many interactions, and these are being posted as recently as today. And this is kind of the problem because, you know, all these adults that are on Tumblr, they have basically little to no information on their accounts that can be used to track them. And I don't know how seriously Tumblr take reports, but hopefully they really do take them seriously. But the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, they're only really going to reveal who they truly are when they're already in the DMs of a minor, when their, you know, grooming has been successful. And whether that minor chooses to report them with the information they give them, you know, we have no control over that, but there's really nothing that we can do apart from report these accounts and hope that enough attention is brought to these tags that Tumblr can properly, you know, close in on them and shut them down. This is again such a vast rabbit hole, and there's so many tags that really, you know, I don't think we could report all of them even if we tried. But yeah, that's the Tumblr rabbit hole, and again, such a vast predator network. The fact that Tumblr has been removed from the App Store before for this exact reason really stands out to me. Because if that's truly a viable option, then who do we need to make aware? Realistically, companies like Apple aren't going to listen to you or me. So my question is, who actually has the power to make such a massive decision? When minors fall down these rabbit holes, they are immediately taken advantage of by predators. The viewer who made me aware of this also shared their story and shared a bit about how predators operate on Tumblr. Their profiles stay obscure. Very little information, no profile picture, stuff along that line. But then, when they eventually find a minor that they want to speak to, they will resort to messaging them privately, either through Tumblr, Telegram, Session, any of these platforms. And when they're in the DMs, a lot of them will feel comfortable enough to share private information, such as their name, or even their face. Minors who are deep in the rabbit hole may let this slip, but people who manage to escape it and speak out against it, this could be the slip-up that brings a predator down. And that's sadly what we have to rely on until these platforms decide to take a stand. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you. Like, subscribe, share the video, do all of that good stuff if you did enjoy or if you learned something today. Let me know in the comments what you think of this disturbing rabbit hole and if you think Tumblr will actually do anything to stop it. And check out my social media, I have Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members, Brooke Entrepreneur, Maury Gann, K4 Silver, Alex Rod, Based Finger, Carmilla, Tango Slime, Shoshka, Frozen Rosies, and Nisha Coles. I'll be back next week with another video, but if you want another right now, then YouTube thinks you'll like the video that's on your screen.